Lucky is a brand new 2021 Shudder original horror mystery sci-fi. So this is kind of a spin on the Groundhog Day thing, but not really. So it's a pretty clever idea. Now this film is going to be interpreted in a lot of different ways. I think that there's a lot of like metaphorical and symbolic meanings within this, and I definitely think people can take this as some kind of feminist agenda film. Like I was looking at it like, oh, I could definitely see people trying to be like, oh, this is, against men and blah blah blah. But I think that that's unfair, but I could see like the argument. I just wouldn't want to. I could just be like, oh, shut the fuck up. Um, but it's a mystery film throughout that keeps you fairly engaged. Like it's definitely one of those movies where you're just sitting there the whole time, like, all right, I need to know what's happening. I can't shut this fucking thing off because I have to know what's happening here, and I want to know what this end reveal is going to be. It did kind of remind me of a movie called Salvage, which I reviewed a while back on for a Slasher Sunday, which I think is a criminally overlooked film that has a microscopic budget. But anyway, so this movie stars Brie Grant, which I just reviewed the movie The Stylist, which she's also in. So I watched two Brie Grant films back to back. And yeah, she's a writer, and her husband are in bed together, and someone shows up in their yard, and they're like, she gets up and is like trying to tell her husband like, what the fuck, and he's like, yeah, that's the guy who's here to break in and try to kill us. He's here every night. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so this guy breaks in, and there's a tussle, and then he doesn't end up killing her, and then the next night he comes back, and so on and so forth. And she's trying to fucking tell everybody. She's trying to get the cops in on this. She's trying to figure out the mystery. Now, of course, I think where my biggest problem in this film laid, I don't know how the fuck you would say that. Whatever. My biggest problem with the film was that in the moment, and I think in the end, I can just kind of, swipe this away and just be like, whatever, I don't care, because I feel like with how this film ends, it's clearly not to be taken literally, and that's, I think, what people need to know. You don't want to take any of this film literally. Nothing is happening for real in this film, from what I can gather, from my interpretation of it anyways. This is all like metaphorical, or in her head or something, and that might be a spoiler-ish. I don't know. I don't think so. But that's just, I just want people to understand that that's the way the film's going to play out. That this film is not to be, like, you're not supposed to be figuring out some mystery throughout. Because with these sci-fi elements, you're not going to get that kind of reveal of like, oh, it's her dad or some bullshit. That's not what's going to happen here. And I think while I was watching the film, it was kind of annoying me. Like, why the fuck would she be at home? Why wouldn't she be pushing harder to go out and stop this, or like, get people to stay with her, or do these things differently? And I don't think you can question the logic of the film. That's where my hardest disconnect came from, where I was sitting there like, fuck, I'm really struggling with like why she's not handling these things different. But in the end, I kind of was like, oh, okay, you're not supposed to take the film straightforward and literally. So I think I can look past all of what occurred in the film. But it was irritating me throughout. Like, why the fuck would she be home? Why would she be at home now? There's no way. After what happened and the way people are treating it and the way people are talking to you, you're like, there's no way. But that's the point. As I said, this film is not supposed to be taken that way, so you can't watch it that way. And I think that will be hard for people to disconnect themselves from. But I do think that this film is going to land really hard with like a specific audience. What that audience is, I'm not honestly sure. Um, I don't want to say women because that seems a little too generalized there. But it definitely does feel like it has a a more of an appeal to females because I think that they might get the metaphorical meaning of this in the end because my interpretation of it is something and I would like to you know converse with you guys down below on what you think it is, but I have my ideas of what that is. And if that's what that is, I like it. I think that's cool. And I feel like other people are going to interpret it in the way that I had already kind of stated. And it might be, but I don't know. I'm not 100%. I haven't thought about this enough yet. And when it ended, I was like, "Huh. Okay, not what I was expecting. Interesting. What does that all mean? Let's think about it." I feel like this is definitely a film you'd have to watch at least twice to fully, you know, come up with your own interpretation of it. And I don't know if there is one true interpretation of it or not. But it's kind of a, it's a mind melding kind of film. And I think, Bree Grant, I think is the one. Yeah, she wrote this one. Right. Yeah. I think she took some risks here, and I think that she tried her own thing, and I think she was mildly successful. I think this is a good watch. I just think it's going to be a very frustrating watch for a lot of people, and I completely understand that. But at the end of the film, I was a fan. I just wasn't a big fan. I was like, okay, I like the risks. I like the uniqueness of it. I like aspects of it. I like reveals of it. I like certain things. I like the look of the killer. I like, Bree Grant's performance. Although at times it does feel a little hokey, but I almost feel like that's part of the point of like you can't take anything seriously. People's reactions, people's performances, like it's all serving this narrative and what they're going for. So I almost feel it's intentional, but regardless, in the moment, it still just didn't feel right. But on a second viewing, that might change because this film needs it. Will I ever go back and rewatch this? Maybe if I was to want to discuss it with someone specifically. If I sat down, I was like, let's watch this together and let's come up with, let's pay attention to it. Especially someone who has already seen it and would like to also do that with me. So we'll see if I can ever get that going. But anyway, yeah. Let me know if you watch it. It's on Shudder. I fucking talk about Shudder enough on here. I skipped over that movie Shook because it's gotten like half-star reviews from friends of mine that like everything. Like my buddy Paul Shunk, because I think it's a found footage film, he gave it a half-star. And this guy loves every fucking found footage movie that's ever been made. And he gave it a half-star. He'll give like a 5-star to shit that I'm like, I don't understand. I don't understand. There's nothing happening in this movie. So if he gave it a half-star, it's got to be horrendous. So that's why I skipped that one. But this is the new one. This is the next one, I think, after that. And so I try to keep up to date with all the Shudder releases, but I had to skip Shook. So in case you were wondering why I didn't watch that, I just can't bring myself to watch a movie that was that shit on by friends of mine who like everything. But so there you go. Anyways, let me know if you watch this. Adios.